So Thomas, tell me about this concert that you're doing in Stellenbosch in June.
So yes, on June the 26th, it's actually something that's been coming on quite a while. Last year with my visit, well, something that would have been a visit to South Africa, it was planned for me to do the Winterreise, Schubert's Winterreise with this pianist that I'll be working with this time around as well. His name is Pieter Grobler. But for all the obvious reasons, it got cancelled, and I did not visit South Africa at that time. And then we've not too long ago, we reconnected and said, well, is there a possibility for this year? And I was very happy that it could work out. We did change the program, partially because recently there's been work done on the Winterreise in the area, and as you might know, I mean, the audience for this kind of thing is not so large necessarily, so to do the same thing twice within months apart is not necessarily the best idea. So we were in conversation about what to present, and I thought, well, my absolute biggest love when it comes to vocal music would be Lieder by Schubert, Schumann, Strauss, and so forth. So I thought, why not just do a Liederabend or an evening of song with all the hits, the famous songs, the things that used to play on the Afrikaans radio back in the day, or the things that you would recognize from television adverts or things in movies or the likes. So this was the initial plan, but then I decided initially to take some songs from Schubert's Schwanengesang, Strauss Opus 27, some from Dichterliebe by Schumann, and so forth. But then to try and fit all of this together in a program that will make sense didn't quite work. So then we made the decision to just present Schumann's Dichterliebe, which is a very well-known cycle, and then we'll fill out the program with a song from Rachmaninoff, Sibelius, and then Strauss's Opus 27, four songs that are also quite famous. So it's very exciting, and especially exciting because it's my alma mater. And this is the first time, that I will be able to perform in the very hall where I used to learn and where I used to study. Yeah, so it's a wonderful opportunity, I think.
That is so special, and I'm sure they are very excited to have you back and to have you sing there.
Well,
that's in Stellenbosch
I
at
so.
The university.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. The venue is called the Endler Hall, and it is a part of a conservatorium. And I think the first time I got to know this venue was already when I was a small boy, singing in choirs when we did concerts there, or there was also a time where I sang in the Tigerberg's Children's Choir, and we did a lot of our concerts at this venue because it's such a wonderful acoustic to be in. It's so wonderfully designed. It's not terribly big. I think it's 550 seats or so in total. But it's a wonderful place. It's very kind to the musician, the acoustics, and that's always nice when you're in a space where you feel that the architecture is helping you rather than not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then also because it's got this sentimental thing for you. Yeah, it's amazing that happened. And then in Stellenbosch now, how are they with the restrictions, and how will that be? Have you been informed yet?
Yeah, so well, as it is, I think they're only allowed to sell up to 100 tickets.
Oh, okay.
So it's to keep people spread out so that people aren't sat next to one another for ages. And there will be other regulations in place, I'm sure, when entering the hall and so forth. But I think it's still wonderful that we can do it, even if it is just for 100 people. Recently here in Zurich, we did a small series of performances called Opera Goes Folk, Opera Goes Pop, and Opera Goes Musical.
Yeah.
So I was part of the Opera Goes musical show, quasi, and we sang for 50 people in the theater that can host 1,200, 1,300. So it's very odd.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very strange feeling, but then again, you know, whether you sing for 1 or 1,000 people, you know, as long as that person is happy and enjoying what they're experiencing, we've done our job, I guess. And but it is strange. It is very
Mm.
strange. It's a weird energy because we also feed off the energy of the audience members, of course, when we're on stage. But yeah, no, I'm just very happy that that we can still do it. And recently, I believe the president in South Africa made new announcements, and we were all kind of crossing our fingers, hoping that it would mean that we would have to cancel again. Luckily not. So we will go ahead as is. Yeah. So that's very exciting.
Oh, that is so wonderful. I'm so happy for you, and also happy for South Africa because I think it's I think it's wonderful that that you go back and go and sing them there, you know. And I think it's also, I don't know what is the situation there with the students there, the students, uh, is there a course, or the musicians that study there, um, how are they feeling about the situation of the arts?
Um, well, truth be told, I can't really give you an honest answer because I don't really know. I do hope to have some time with some of the students. In past years, I've tried to go back to the singing department, specifically in Stellenbosch, to have a chat with people about my experiences studying abroad and so forth.
Mm,
And that's always a nice opportunity to get some feedback, also to understand
mm,
how they feel. But I honestly don't really know what the current state
yeah.
is for these individuals because I've not really been in contact for a long while. But I can imagine that it must be frustrating as well for everyone. But I have seen, you know, things like practical exams and these kind of things are continuing. Um, Not for an audience, but still, I mean, it's not that they're completely home or housebound or homebound to the state that they can't be at the conserve studying or doing their thing that they're supposed to be doing. So, which I think is not like that everywhere, because I'm aware of some places that's been very strict in the sense that people could really not attend. So yeah, but yeah, I don't really know.
But I spoke to Ben Skuman. He's a pianist
Oh yeah,
and also teaching in Pretoria at
yes.
Tech. Yeah, and yeah, we spoke about all the talent that's in South Africa, and I'm just always wondering what the, you know, what motivation are there for them when they finish their studying, or when you go and speak to them, what is the, you know, what do they normally ask you? Do they leave the country to audition and go somewhere else, or is there a future for them there?
The few times I had the opportunity to speak to people, and also in groups or also in individuals, because I do keep contact here and there with some. Um, One of the big questions to come up always is, where did you find money to go abroad?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, that seems to be the first hurdle to cross. I mean, if you come from a wealthy family, maybe that is one thing, but the majority of South Africa is not that. So you find people in a situation where they have tons of talent, but to be able to make a career abroad, um, you have to leave. You have to go to Europe, well, Europe, probably Europe, sometimes America. Wouldn't recommend that right now, but yeah. Um, and that costs money. You have to fly, you have to stay somewhere, you have to pay for pianists, you have to, you know, and often it is the case that you also have to pay to audition. I mean, there's a lot of money involved in these kind of things. My advice usually, if we forget about the money for a moment, if we're talking about young students, people who are finishing up with an undergraduate, or maybe if they've done one postgraduate qualification of sorts, to then still try and get into one of the academic systems in Europe. Because often it's possible for you, if you know someone that can help you, or if you're very lucky to go directly just to do auditions, and maybe someone will offer you something. That is possible, of course, but that is, I think that's a bigger gamble in the end. Whereas if you spend a year or two in a country, whether that be the UK or Germany or France or wherever, and you do some studies, you meet people that will also in the end form part of the network that you want to be a part of. So that's already very valuable. And you meet teachers and coaches, conductors, you meet people that will be able to guide you in a better way than people would be able to guide you from back home in South Africa, to find the right opportunities abroad. And this is, I'm not saying this with any disrespect to teachers and professors living in South Africa, of course. This is nothing to do
I understand
with
what you mean.
the skill set.
Yeah.
It's purely just about the networking possibilities. And of course, there's also the option to join or to try and join a studio of sorts. So here in Zurich, there is the opera studio, but there's also the orchestra academy. And this then is also for instrumentalists, because I don't have a lot of knowledge about the world of instrumentalists, or this is not something I know much about. But I do believe that there are, in more than just Zurich, there are places around Europe that offer also for young musicians. This is also a very good step, because once you're connected to a house or a theater of sorts, you inevitably get more exposure, and there is the opportunity to audition for people that come to work, or you meet people. So as with any industry, the opera industry and the music industry is very much about networking and getting to know people. And I think, yes, for South Africans, I find that it's mostly about the money. How to make the first step, you know, where can I get some money, and how do I then go? But then where do I go? That's the next question, of course. And that is a matter of where the possibility is for that individual, because it's not like you're going to a buffet dinner and you can just pick whatever you want. You have to shoot in the dark, and you hope to hit a target at some point. When I finished, so I mean, when I went over to study, the idea was I will do 1 year, and then we'll see. This was the idea I had in my mind. I had money for 1 year, and that was it. And then things developed in its own way, sort of. And that's also important, not to overthink what the future might be or will be, because very often you will be disappointed, and very often you won't be disappointed. So you can never really know. I remember as a student in South Africa still, I never imagined that this could be a future for me, truly. And I did need the encouragement of some teachers from abroad to say, yes, we think that there is possibility for you to do this. And without that, I probably would not have taken on this. So it is very valuable also to connect when you have the opportunity with individuals in teaching positions or something similar. I mean, this is quite hard because it's not very often that you meet people like this in South Africa. But in my case, I went to a competition. And even though I mean, I was absolutely rubbish at that stage of my life, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because
I can't believe that.
Well, I didn't have a clue, and it was because I met these individuals from England that journey kind of started. So I think it is about keeping an open mind. If you truly want it, if you truly want to be working as a singer or a musician abroad, there's always a way. It might not be for right now or in a year or in 2 years, but as long as you keep chiseling away, there will be a way for you to do that, as long as that is really what you want. You make it happen. I mean, it is incredibly expensive for South Africans to study abroad, to live, to pay your studies, to do all that. And once you've done that, of course, then to move on to doing auditions and to trying to find a job and all this, it costs a lot of money. And that is, I think, a big wall for a lot of people. They just see this, how can I make this work? And often there are solutions, even back home, with trust funds like the Oppenheimer Memorial Trust, or other philanthropic people, wealthy individuals who do give to individuals in the arts, and so these things exist, but that is often not enough. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, in South Africa, I think if you want to stay, if you want to stay home and still do what you do, there are few options. You will definitely not become wealthy. That's one thing to realize. But it's also about priorities and what's more important to you. Do you value having your life with your family and friends at home more, or is it that you are chasing this dream that you really want? Are you going to give it a go and then come back? Or I mean, the possibilities are endless, really. Yeah.
But also South Africa is also, you also have to have a working permit, and you have to have visas and all those things, and like you say, when you start adding that up, and it's not, you cannot just be free in Europe and travel and so on. So there are many things, but the sad thing for me is that, like you say, this is then very difficult for somebody who doesn't have a sponsorship or doesn't have the money and the means to do this, and that there is not so many opportunities in South Africa. Also, I have spoken to a few opera singers also who came from South Africa, who were fortunate that they had the scholarships or new scholarships, the sponsorships. But they say also the same thing, that's otherwise that wouldn't have happened. And but I think it's very important that that you go back and go and sing and show what can happen and what is possible. And I'm also thinking, because the last time we spoke about the education as well, and I think even for children, to have that, at least that aspiration, or the idea that, you know what, he wanted it, and this was his dream, and look where is he now. And I think it's important that they see that and hear that as well, because as you know as well, as like Ben said, there's so much talent and so many talented artists in South Africa.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I really count my blessings. I'm very grateful to be where I am. There is often still days where I have to pinch myself and sort of just to realize, yes, I am here. It's not, but we all go through times of doubt. And I remember this from the very beginning of the time when I started with singing. You doubt yourself all the time. So even when you are doing something that you previously thought you could never do, I'm still doubting myself often. And this is not something that should inhibit you from getting where you want to be, because in the end, self-doubt is a self-generated inhibitor. You know, we step in front of ourselves in some or other way to stop ourselves from doing things, because what matters most is not what you think about yourself, but what those who will pay the tickets to come listen to you
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
or those who appreciate what you do as a musician or an artist. Or so it's very, it's that's a very valuable lesson that I learned, or that I'm still learning, one can
Mm.
say. um, because there's always a next level that one strives for. For
Mm.
instance, at the moment I am here, I'm working as an ensemble member here in Zurich,
Mm.
but I'm already looking to the future to wonder what is next.
Yeah.
Is it for me to work as a freelance performer, or might there be another opera house where I can go and do a certain type of role? Or always questions, and then the questions come, of course, yeah, but am I good enough for that, and will they be happy with this, and do I fit the, so it's never ending. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
But
this
that
is
should
part.
never stop you.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think this is part of the thing that also drives, that drives the artist.
Yeah.
I think all artists have that self-doubt, and in a way it's uh, maybe not a good thing to live with, but that it drives you to
Yeah.
drives you to try and you know do other things or better things, or yeah, so
I
that
agree.
is,
Yeah.
but
I guess.
it's also good to talk about these things, because it's not just you, it's a lot of people, and a lot of
Yeah.
artists have that, and it's important also to talk about these things, because it's part of um, also supporting each other and thinking, well, if I'm thinking this, somebody else is also thinking this,
Yeah.
of themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a big part of being an artist in general is the vulnerability that comes with it.
Mm.
And this is also one of the reasons why I absolutely love Lieder as a genre to perform. Um, because for some reason, in my experience thereof, is, the vulnerability level is through the roof.
Mm.
You're completely exposed, and you're delivering something alongside a pianist mostly. Um, and I think it's also what people want when they come to experience art of any kind. I mean, it doesn't just have to be singing or so. I mean, sometimes you just want to sit and listen to someone making the most incredible lines and loud noises and high notes and whatever. But often it is to be moved rather than just
Yeah.
listening. And the moving, if you move someone, that comes from the vulnerability that you give, that you open yourself up to individuals. And this, in a little way, I think, goes hand in hand with the self-doubt, because we should, as performers, we are taught that we should never show that we are doubting ourselves on stage, yet we should show that we doubt ourselves on stage. It's
Mm.
it's such an oxymoron, because if you go to a performance, whether it's a dancer or a singer, or someone who plays an instrument of sorts, and you walk away and you feel like, "Well, yeah, okay, I didn't really get anything from that," then the question is, was it just because you were not really into what was happening, or was it because the artist or performer couldn't be vulnerable enough to deliver something to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And this is something that then ties into the idea of authenticity and being true to who you are as an individual, and what you do and what you can bring, and to value that.
Yeah.
um, and not just to be another pound of meat that goes into the grinder for the sausage machine.
Yeah.
And this is something that is also very important for young people, I think, who
Mm.
are taking on a journey of becoming a better musician or bettering themselves at the craft, is that who and what they, or he, him, her, whoever might be in the moment, is okay, and what they have to offer is fine, and they have to capitalize on that.
Mm.
um, I think so. It's,
I think
yeah.
you're right, and I think this part of figuring it out and figuring it out. And I think it's also I so believe that every artist should have their style, and not style, but their own, be their own person. And apart from having all the technical things, but I think somewhere has to be something that is just about that artist. And I think to achieve that, or to get to that point, is also a path to go. It's not just about the music, and not just about the training and the voice and everything, but it's about the awareness of yourself, and the growth and the healing and everything you go through in this path. And that then in the end, because it's a continuous thing, but that then that's something that I think you project from stage. And I think that's the thing that connects you with certain people. And yeah, because I believe that, you know, I would hear somebody sing, for example, or see somebody dance on stage. I cannot say that they have the best turnout, or that their legs are the highest, or whatever. Or I don't count always the pirouettes that they do. But there's always something about this dancer or this person who sings. And as I say, also, I don't know how high the notes are, or how efficient it is, but there's something about the person that then I feel, or I sense. And I think it's this thing that you're talking about, you know, that projection of the artist. Yeah. But Thomas, in these concerts that you're doing in Stellenbosch now, is it one performance, or how many performances?
Yeah, it's just the one. We were initially struggling a little bit to find dates that could work, also to fit in the time that I'm going to be there. So it's, unfortunately only the 26th of June. But hopefully this might become an annual thing, that I can go home and do some things. I do hope next year, maybe in August or so, end of July, to do something in Potchefstroom. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it all depends. But this is all part, I think, of or maybe the start of a journey that I would like to continue, and that if I can possibly manage it, to do once a year a little something at home somewhere, to do this.
I think that's wonderful, and I would love to know when you do, because I think it's you know, I've been talking to also artists in South Africa, and really I think it's to raise awareness that these artists have, you know, that in South Africa, that there are artists who really have a passion for what they do, but they cannot do it in either full time, or there's no, the opportunities are not there. And really, I think if people like yourself go back and connect there, or talk there, or even, you know, with performances, just to show what is possible, I think this is wonderful. Yeah. No, I applaud you for doing that. And then, of course, you're back home, and you have a little bit of South Africa. That's
I mean, that's also part of it, of course. Yeah, it's I'm very fortunate, because you know, every cloud's got a silver lining, I guess. It's the first time in many years that I will be able to go home twice in the span of 12 months. So that's wonderful, and there's a lot to look forward to, and not just the performing and connecting with people in that realm, but also just to experience home a bit, and the people you love and care for. And you know how it is, though. You know,
I know how it is. I totally agree. Yeah.
It's always good to get a bit of home.
Just breathe the air in South Africa. Have a braai, and those things that you know, that's important in life.
It's always such a pleasure to go back and, you know, have all of this. And I always pick up a few kilograms because of all the braai and the wonderful wine and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's
No,
so.
that's just to remind you that it's a little memento you bring with
Yeah.
little
No,
souvenir from South Africa, yeah. But
yeah.
listen, tell me about this. I forgot to ask you. You teaching Afrikaans on Instagram?
So, well, I wouldn't say necessarily teaching, but I recently had thoughts about the fact that I don't really pay attention to Afrikaans
Yeah,
as much as I should in this on social media, and
yeah,
specifically Instagram. I'm based in Europe. I do most of my things in English, so that it can cover a broader audience, I guess, and
yeah.
that makes sense. But I'm still Afrikaans, and I'm sure that there are some people in South Africa that might be interested. So I thought this idea came about to just do short clips every now and then to educate people that are following me about the history of Afrikaans. I'll do some things on little cultural snippets, maybe about typical foods from different areas in South Africa that connects to the language as well. And then I will also perhaps do some poetry reading or
Oh wow, yeah.
something like this to give people an idea of of what the language is like, um, and hopefully to that into to some extent then eventually integrate to touch a larger Afrikaans audience in South Africa as well, to not be such a foreign idea to South
Yeah.
Africans. Because truth be told, I am as Afrikaans as it comes, and you know, I feel that it's only the right thing to do, really, to share. And I've also, as of June, as of this month now, I will also start dedicating some of my posts to my Afrikaans people,
Yeah.
to do it in Afrikaans, even if it is about what I'm doing here or whatever is going on, that I share in Afrikaans. And yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And you know, we've got such lovely words. It just, for example, the word Aitsam, you
It's
know,
a
I love, yeah, Aitsam.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a beautiful word. You have
Yeah.
to use that one in your Instagram post, please.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will.
Aitsam,
I mean,
because
they
yeah, it says so much. Well, it's such a lovely expression, for me, I
yeah.
think, yeah. And yeah, there's many things that we forget to use when we are here and we don't speak the language so often. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, another example is, for instance, and this is a word that we all use for basically any context possible, is lekker. And
Yeah.
for instance, in German, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, predominantly used to refer to something edible or drinkable,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes perhaps in a less kosher way to, you know, lekker Mädchen or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this, obviously so respectful, but still, it's fantastic how we can use one word in so many different ways to
Exactly. Yeah.
describe
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, there are many examples like this.
I said to somebody, sorry, I just want to open the door. I said to somebody once, if there's one word in South Africa, you can literally greet somebody with that word.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so
You
true.
can
Yeah.
just say to somebody lekker,
Yeah.
and you know, and they will greet you back. Yeah. So it,
Another thing that's complicated for non-Afrikaans speakers to understand is no
oh yeah, no, no,
and
yeah,
ja nee.
oh yeah,
But these are also things that I will do my very best to explain.
like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know there are just some things that that you know is so typical and
Yeah.
so typical of Afrikaans. Yeah. Um, I said to somebody the other day, the saying "dis lekker by die see," which which means it's nice at the beach, but or at the sea, but it can mean so many things. You know, you can use it in so many contexts. You don't have to be next to the beach to say it. You can You can basically sit in Pretoria and you can say that, you know. So that is also something. Please explain that one to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of languages have these little gems,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is a totally cultural thing. It's not
yeah.
so much a language thing. I think it's more, um, yeah, but in Afrikaans and this, you know, even now, nowadays when I get tired or I have had a long day and so on, then my brain automatically switches back to Afrikaans. And
Oh,
often I
really?
find myself, yeah, on the phone with someone and so, and then I spoke 30 seconds in Afrikaans, and then the person is like, Thomas, sorry, I have no idea what you do. And this is just, you know, I think
Yeah,
it's so wonderful that I still have that. And I think that I'm lucky enough that my Afrikaans is still rather good. And I try to still read Afrikaans, and I try to keep up
mm,
by listening to Afrikaans podcast, or as they say in Afrikaans,
yeah.
potgooi, you know, all these kind of
Yeah,
things. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So that's another funny one.
I've been watching Boer Soeke Vrou.
Yes. I mean, more South African you don't get, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but that's wonderful. Ma, um, Thomas, let's do this in Afrikaans now for your Afrikaans fans.
Ja.
Okay, Thomas, vertel vir my van hierdie konsert wat jy in Stellenbosch doen.
So ja, dit behoort 'n program te wees van ongeveer ek skat 'n bietjie meer as 'n uur. Ek gaan saam met 'n pianis werk genaamd Pieter Grobler. Hy is al 'n hele paar jaar by die universiteit, selfs van toe ek daar gewerk het. Die program is Schumann se Dichterliebe, 'n siklus, en dan vul ons die program in met nog liedere van Rachmaninoff, Sibelius en Strauss. So op 27. En ja, dit is by my alma mater in Stellenbosch, en in die Endlersaal, 'n saal waar ek al baie opgetree het en gesing het in allerlei forme, van kinderdagse koorsang tot my eerste Handel's Messias daar gedoen, en ag ja, dit is vreeslik nostalgies en sentimenteel in 'n manier om terug te gaan na al die jare weg om weer 'n kans te hê om daar op te tree, ja.
Nou, hoe oefen jy nou saam met jou pianis? Of gaan julle genoeg tyd hê om saam saam te oefen en voor te berei vir hierdie konsert?
Soos wat dinge maar werk is, ek berei so goed moontlik voor aan hierdie kant, en hy doen dieselfde aan daai kant, en dan het ons maar sê maar 2 of 3 repetisies voor die tyd, en dan laat loop ons.
Hoe is dit?
Ja. Ja, dit gaan maar so. Tensy 'n mens natuurlik nou in dieselfde gebou werk of so, is dit moeilik by mekaar uit te kom vir baie repeteer, ja.
Nou ken julle mekaar nou al jy sê van jy ken hom nou al van hy daar gestudeer het. So daar is daar 'n koneksie wat julle het.
Ja, ek het nog nooit van tevore 'n konsert soos hierdie saam met Pieter gedoen nie. Maar ons het so dan en wan ietsie saam gedoen toe ek 'n student was. En ek dink Pieter het ongeveer op dieselfde tyd as ek op Stellenbosch aangeland. So dit is ook daarom nou al meer as 10 jaar gelede. Is dit? Dit is ja, aardelank. So is meer as 10 jaar gelede. So ja, hy sal 'n ruime tyd daar, en ek weet Pieter het 'n groot liefde vir lieder. So dit is vir my 'n groot vreugde om saam met iemand te werk wat ook baie lief is vir hierdie tipe van musiek.
Ja. En hoe is dit nou in die teater? Hoeveel is daar nou baie inperkings en regulasies en goed wat julle nou gaan moet byhou?
Sover ek weet, is dit maar net dat daar 'n maksimum van 100 kaartjies verkoop kan word. Die saal kan 150 mense hanteer. normale wyse. En so dit is aansienlik minder mense sodat daar genoeg spasie is. En ek vermoed dat daar is dan natuurlik ook goed soos om maskers te dra en hande dis alles skoon te hou en skoon te maak ensovoorts. Ja. Ek gaan nie op die verhoor staan met 'n masker nie. Dit gaan nou nie werk nie. Maar ek dink as 'n mens genoeg spasie laat en so tussen ons en die verhoor, dan behoort dit alright te wees.
Ja. Sê vir, het jy 'n voor optrede ritueeltjie? Het jy ietsie wat jy het jy iets wat jy doen wat net so 'n bietjie van 'n ritueel is?
Dis snaaks, nie eintlik nie. Ek weet ek het kollegas wat regtig waar ek het een van my basbariton kollegas rook altyd 'n sigaar voor hy moet sing. Nou ja, dit is nou nog my werk nie. Maar nee, ek staan op, ek staan nie te vroeg op nie. Ek probeer rustig bly hierdie dag. Ek sal daardie spesifieke dag dan nou nie oefening doen of so, sê maar gym toe gaan of so nie. Ek sal rustig wees. Ek hou nie daarvan om te eet voor ek optree nie. Want dan voel ek vol en so ligte ontbyt en dan niks tot na die konsert nie. Drink baie water deur die dag. So dis nie regtig dat ek 'n ritueel het soos ek weet nie dat ek nou 'n reendansie maak of ietsie voordat ek nou sing nie, maar ja, dis maar net ek probeer so rustig moontlik wees en soms sal ek 'n bietjie strekoefeninge doen. Of ek doen dit hang ook af van hoe my instrument op daardie stadium voel, wat se tipe opwarming ek sal doen vir die konsert. Soms is ek sommer ready to go in die oomblik en kan ek net vertrek. Ander tye neem dit my 2 na 3 ure om op te warm. Dit hang maar af van die dag. So ja, en dit word ook maar vasgestel vroegdag al as ek opstaan, dan weet ek.
En as jy nou klaar is, as jy nou sê jy eet net 'n ontbyt en dan gaan jy nou die hele dag, as jy nou die aand 'n optrede het, dan gaan jy nou maar die hele dag so leem maak.
Ja, ek meen ek sal nou nie 7 uur die oggend ontbyt eet en dan eers weer vanaand. Ek sal probeer om sê maar laat oggend iets te eet. En as ek nou regtig honger raak, miskien 'n ligte ietsie soos 'n vrug of so iets tussendeur, maar ja, vir baie mense is dit gerief om met 'n vol maag te sing en ek hou glad nie daarvan. So dit is dis
En dan nou na die tyd, as jy dan nou klaar is, dan sak jy net toe na kombuis van jou of wat?
Ja, kombuis of altyd 'n lekker glasie wyn is altyd welkom. Ek is baie lief daarvoor om 'n glasie wyn te drink na 'n vertoning en ja, ietsie om te eet, dit of dit dan nou in 'n restaurant is of by die huis kook of wat ook al, dit hoef ook nou nie iets vreesliks te wees nie. Maar ja, ek hoop dat die geleentheid daar is dat ons byvoorbeeld nou na die konsert op die 26ste daarom ietsie eers kan gaan drink of so.
Ja, in Stellenbosch. Dit sal dan nou maar lekker wees, ja.
Ja.
En dan nou, as jy in Suid-Afrika is, wat is jou gunsteling goed om te gaan doen daar?
So, kyk, ek is verskriklik lief vir wyn. So ek vind myself gereeld op wynplase.
Is dit?
Al is dit net om te proe of om te koop of om te wat ook al, ek is lief daarvoor om deur die Boland te ry, dis vir my baie lekker. Ook om te gaan eet op interessante plekke, die lekker kos van die Kaap te hê. Ek is baie lief vir die Klein Karoo, so om so in die roete 62 te ry van die Kaap af in die rigting van Oudtshoorn is vir my baie lekker. Ja, en ek geniet dit vreeslik om eenvoudig maar net rond te loop in die stad Kaapstad. Ek het nie groot geword in die stad nie, so dit is nie vir my so bekend dat so ek ontdek altyd iets nuuts en daar's altyd iets lekker om te sien en ek gaan graag ook ry reg om die Skiereiland net om die mooi te sien en in te neem. Dis vir my dis 'n anderste tipe mooi en 'n mens, jy weet, dit is baie uniek en Ja, ek mis dit en daai reuk van fynbos en wat in die lug is baie keer dan dit is nie 'n ding wat 'n mens vergeet nie en
Ja.
ja, so ek geniet dit vreeslik om dit in te neem. En nou verseker, as ek teruggaan sal ek baie foto's neem. Dink ek,
O
dis
ja,
nou
natuurlik, want jy neem ons so mooi foto's. Ja. O
ja,
ja, dit gaan nou baie lekker wees vir jou, ja.
ja.
Ja, nee, ek stem met jou 100% saam en dit is daar is net daai gevoel as jy dan op die lughawe afklim. Dat jy
Ja.
bereisd is, ja.
Ja. Van die eerste mense met wie jy mens kontak maak, al is dit die oom wat jou paspoort stampie gee of wat ook al dit voel net dis lekker om weer by die huis te wees. Ja. Nee, dit is kyk Suid-Afrika het sy foute en sy kwale, maar huis bly maar huis.
Ja, nee, ek stem met jou 100% saam, ja. Maar luister, ek wens jou baie sterkte toe om nie ek sterkte nie. In Afrikaans wat sê mens maar toi sê ons hier. Jou konsert en in Stellenbosch en ja, ek dink dit gaan wonderlik wees om jou terug te hê daar vir hulle ook en jy weet inspirerend vir ook die studente wat daar is wat dan jy weet miskien met jou kan gesels en so aan. En ek dink ons gaan hierdie op Facebook post in Afrikaans. Dit sal my
eerste lekker. In Afrikaans. Ja. Baie dankie Petra. Waardeer dit so.
Nee, ek dink dit is 'n wonderlike idee. Ek dink ons moet dit meer gereeld doen. Ja. Maar ja. Nee, okay Thomas, en ek gaan jou dophou. En dan sal ek sien wat die foto's. Ek hoop daar's foto's van die konsert wat ons dan kan sien.
Ja.
Dit sal eintlik wonderlik wees as hulle dit kon opgeneem het, jy weet, kon gefilm het. Ek weet nie hoe hulle is met dit.
'n Mens kan vra. Mens kan altyd vra. Ja, so ek weet nie of hulle sal ingee nie, maar 'n mens kan altyd vra. Ek meen ek is seker die geriewe is daar om dit te doen, ja.
Ja. Want wat 'n wonderlike ding sal dit wees as ons dit kon as hulle dit kon gestream het of jy weet dat mense dit kan nou geplaas het. Dit sal goed wees, ja.
Ja, daar kan 'n mens nog 'n plan maak.
Ja, natuurlijk. Okay, Thomas.
Dankie.
Maar ek sien uit as jy Vienna toe kom.
Yes, ek sal vir jou verseker laat weet.
Dan gaan ons foto's neem. Koffie drink en foto's neem. Ja, okay.
Lekker, ja. Nou toe.
Okay, Thomas. Lekker bly.
Bye bye.
Bye.